Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. So, today we are diving into something absolutely fascinating, the psychology of how we perceive affection. Have you ever felt this weird, almost unexplainable disconnect in your relationship? Like on paper, everything is fine, but you still feel kind of underappreciated. Well, stick around because the concepts we're about to unpack are going to be a real game changer for you. So, let me ask you a pretty heavy question right out of the gate. Are you missing the love right in front of you? We usually just go through life assuming we know exactly what love looks like, sounds like, and feels like. But I want you to really think about this for a second as we get started. Is it possible, just maybe, that your own rigid expectations are secretly acting like blinders in your relationships? Let's break down exactly how this whole phenomenon works. All right, Section 1, the soulmate trap, the illusion of instinctive perfection. So, the core of our first major issue is what's called the soulmate amplification. It's this beautiful, highly romanticized, but honestly kind of dangerous notion that soulmates will just instinctively love each other perfectly. Zero missteps, zero friction. We're basically taught from day one that a true, deep connection means you never, ever have differing styles of showing affection. The logic is like, well, if they're truly the one, they should just automatically know how to love me, right? But holding on to this totally unrealistic ideal sets this massive psychological trap based on preconceived notions. See, we tend to buy into this soulmate myth, this pervasive idea that love is purely instinctive, perfectly neat, and fits into this specific rigid mold, usually one shaped by movies or past experiences. But the reality is way different and honestly a bit messy sometimes. Real love requires active understanding. It's deeply shaped by a person's background, how they grew up, and their unique personality. It is nuanced. And yes, it absolutely requires some real effort to translate. Moving on to Section 2, your partner's love language, beyond the rigid mold.
The truth is, people express care in beautifully, incredibly diverse ways. They might show love through acts of service, carving out quality time, thoughtful gifts, physical touch, or words of affirmation. But it also includes these super subtle acts, like remembering tiny details about your day, or just giving you space when you're overwhelmed, or quietly supporting your endeavors behind the scenes. Think about it for a second. Maybe you were expecting this long, poetic text message, but instead, they woke up early and filled up your gas tank so you wouldn't have to stop on your way to work. Love goes way beyond those grand, cinematic gestures. Your partner is likely speaking absolute volumes of love to you every single day. It's just in a dialect you weren't completely fluent in yet.
Which brings us to Section 3, the blinding effect, how expectations act as blinders. Here's the absolute core of the problem. Fixed expectations act like literal blinders. They make you completely miss authentic affection. When you create this rigid mold for how love must be expressed, maybe you're looking only for certain words, or a specific number of texts a day, or a very particular way of handling a disagreement, you become completely unreceptive to your partner's actual efforts. You get so hyper-focused on finding that one specific thing you anticipate that you literally cannot see the real affection being showered on you right in that very moment. The source material actually gives us this brilliant visual metaphor for this. It says it's like looking only for apples while standing in an orchard full of oranges, pears, and peaches. Just let that imagery sink in for a second. Imagine you're standing there, surrounded by this absolute abundance of love. The oranges, the pears, the peaches of affection, right? But you miss the whole shebang because it doesn't match the specific fruit you decided you wanted before you even walked in. You are demanding an apple, and because of that, you are quite literally starving in an orchard of plenty. Let's look at Section 4, a painful paradox. Feeling unloved while being loved. Now, this painful paradox is, it's feeling unloved or unmet or disappointed, not because love is actually absent from your relationship, but simply because it isn't precise. It's a tragic psychological mystery, really. You can feel totally isolated and unloved just because the affection isn't delivered exactly how you drew it up in your head. The love is absolutely there, for sure, but that rigid translation filter in your mind, it's completely blocking it from ever reaching your heart. And man, this just builds into a totally destructive cycle of friction in a relationship. It all starts when you hold on to that expectation, that rigid mold. For you, this breeds deep resentment. It leaves you feeling unmet and endlessly disappointed. But we have to consider the flip side, the effect on your partner. They are actively trying to show you love in their own unique way, but they end up feeling misunderstood, totally unappreciated, and honestly just deeply hurt that their genuine efforts aren't being seen or valued by you. It is a complete lose-lose situation, and it's created entirely by these unchecked expectations. All right, let's figure out how to fix this. In Section 5, Reframing True Connection, Navigating the Differences. When that soulmate amplification takes over our brains, we tend to adopt this fundamental flaw mindset. We trick ourselves into thinking that differing styles of love mean the connection is hopelessly broken. We catch ourselves thinking, well, if they really loved me, they'd just do it my way. But actually, scratch that, we need a massive reframe here. We need to view this instead as a navigational difference. The text makes it super clear. A discrepancy in love languages is not a sign that your relationship is inherently doomed. Not at all. It is literally just a difference in expression. It's something to be understood, decoded, and navigated together. It's not a flaw. It's just the beautiful, sometimes complicated reality of human diversity and how we care for each other. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Will you stop looking for apples and see what fruit is actually being offered today? Seriously, I challenge you to take a step back after we finish here. Look at your partner's actions, or hey, even your friends and family's actions, through a totally new, unfiltered lens. Drop that rigid mold, take off those blinders, and just see the incredible abundance of affection that might literally be waiting for you to recognize it right now. Thanks so much for diving into this with me.